I'm so excited to share my third composition with you today. This composition was, I would say, a journey, unlike the other two. And if you've been following this series where I am once a month sharing an original composition or arrangement or performance with you, then perhaps you've heard the first two in the series, which were all about the sacral chakra and the solar plexus chakra. And I had this idea to do this series on the 7 main energy centers of the body, or chakras. And so today's composition is all about the third eye. And the third eye is where your intuition lives, where your inner knowing lives. It's kind of about your connection to collective consciousness, to spirituality, all of that. And this piece was challenging to write. I started out with this idea that I couldn't get out of my head, this like beautiful main theme that just like, it was like an earworm and it wouldn't leave my brain. But it took me a couple months to write this one. In December, I released an arrangement of a holiday song. And so I started writing this one in November and I just finished it at the beginning of January. And I won't go into too many details. It was a little bit of a crazy time in our house over here. We had an unexpected repair we had to do and all of these other wild things. But I'm so excited to share it with you today. And I wanted to talk just for a quick minute about the third eye and about the piece and how it came to be. So intuition is a fascinating topic to me. I am obsessed with the idea of our intuitions, and I don't think it matters what your beliefs are. I think we can all agree that we have like an inner knowing, right? We have that inner knowing, and you'll hear it reflected in our language, even by people that might not admit that they believe in an intuition. But people will say things like, "Oh, I had a gut feeling," or "Oof, I really felt that. I really felt it in my body." Things like that, and I think your intuition can communicate with you in a variety of different ways. For me, it's kind of thoughts that pop into my head, but I'll explain that further in a minute. It can also be feelings in your body. It can be just a deep sense of knowing. And when I was first learning about intuition, I always had this question of like, how do I know if it's my intuition or if it's anxiety, right? Because I've struggled with anxiety for my whole life, and I have like anxious thoughts that pop into my head, but then I also have like these intuitive thoughts that pop into my head. And so what's the difference? And it took a while to be able to tell the difference, but I think the best way that I can describe intuition is your deep inner sense of knowing. It's what you know to be true. And so for me, truth is not usually based in fear. For me, my intuition usually communicates from a place of love. And a place of knowing, like just a place of like understanding when something is right. And I think that as humans, we tend to kind of operate from fear or love, right? And obviously there's like so many more nuances and so many more emotions than that. But I think in our base experience, like to simplify, we can say like there are things that come from fear and there are things that come from love. And I think your intuition is always communicating with you from a place of love. It's calm, it's peaceful, it's do this, or that's not right for me. It's not like, oh my gosh, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? And I think the other thing is that intuition is always communicating from the present moment. So it might be telling you a next step. It might be telling you the next step to take right now, but your intuition isn't usually speaking to you about 5 years from now, this is what you need to be doing. And as I was thinking about writing this piece, the thing that I kept coming back to is this idea of fear versus love, because something that I've said for a long time, or that I've really believed even before I knew what my intuition was or I understood it more, was that I do think that we make choices based out of fear or love. And we are so good as humans at creating stories around why we make choices. And our stories are really convincing, right? Really convincing about like, well, I did this because they did that and da 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 da. And we can convince people all day long. But I think if you really look at it and you look at the major life choices and things that are going on in the world and things that are going on collectively around the planet, we can pretty much boil it down to love or fear. Right? Love or fear. And those are also the two main things that I think are sold to us when we look at advertisements for, dating apps or products that we need, beauty products, like anything that you look at is really love or fear. And that's what this piece is about. It's about that I guess, battle between love and fear, that relationship between love and fear, because I don't think that as humans, I don't think we can always live in one, right? We can't always be in a place of fear. We can't always be in a place of love. Neither of those is sustainable. But I do think that the more often that we can, for lack of a better way of explaining this, and I don't want to sound cheesy, but the more often that we can choose to operate from a wavelength of love, the better the world is, the better our relationships are, the better our relationship with ourself is, the better everything operates around us, in our homes, outside of our homes. And I'm going to leave it at that. So when I was composing this piece, there was, you'll hopefully hear it, there was a theme that has to do with love. There was the main theme, which just feels kind of like this knowing, which is the theme that the piece starts out with, like coming back to like this trusting, beautiful knowing. Sorry, I'm getting mumbled. So there's the trusting, beautiful knowing theme, there's the love theme, there's a fear theme, you will hear that. And then there's kind of like this like ethereal theme that I think is when we really get quiet and we really tune in. For me, my intuition also, not only does it tell me my gut knowing, but I can kind of like tap into, like the collective sense of knowing or the collective sense of love. And so there's that theme as well. And you'll hear them all cycle through, play off each other, grow, change. And I hope you like it. And if you do, you can grab the sheet music in the description below this video. All right, enjoy. This is Third Eye.